Hey everybody, welcome to my Module 9 case study. My name is Nate Bailey. We'll go ahead and get started. So Section 1, looking at the scenario. So what has happened? Two students are in trouble for um, having brass knuckles. One student is actually forced to hold the brass knuckles. He's receiving the same punishment as a student who brought the actual weapon and forced the other student to hold them. And then, of course, knowing this, Principal Emmett has a tough decision ahead of him. When and where this is happening: Rocket Junior High School. James's third tardy gets him sent to the office during fifth period, and this is where the exchange of brass knuckles occurs. And then the fifth hour teacher reports it. Um, who is involved? Richard Inman, he's the principal of Rocket Junior High. James, he's a 15-year-old from the south side. And then David Ramos, an honor student, standout trombonist. Section 2, legal or ethical issues. So, first part, law. Possession of brass knuckles is considered a felony offense. They are breaking the law, and then having it in school, that's not helping. So, David has possession of the brass knuckles. James admitted, though, that they were his and told the officer he'd threatened to beat up David that if he did not hold the brass knuckles for him. The school policy, because it was in school, is a zero tolerance board policy that demanded both students should be expelled for no less than 45 days in the district's disciplinary alternative education program. And then an ethical issue: Principal Inman, who doesn't really wish to expel David because he knows it's not exactly right, is told a week later that he needed to either expel David or he would receive an official reprimand that would become part of his permanent personal profile. So, Section 3, what has happened? Kind of summarize it in one sentence. After student David is wrongfully accused, Principal Inman must choose between the possible fate of himself or David. Section 4, kind of take a look at all the facts, gathering the information. So, for the first part, the facts, people. The primary subjects are James, troubled tough guy that has been in numerous situations like this before, is caught with brass knuckles and will be expelled and sent to the DAEP. David is an honors student who was actually forced to take the brass knuckles. He is a talented trombonist. David has great potential and a lot to lose. Richard Inman, he's the principal at Rocket Junior High School. From the beginning of the case study, it tells you that he's dedicated to cultivating positive relationships for his students. And then because of this situation, he's forced to make a tough ethical decision between himself and David. And then people, secondary. Sorry, just gotta move that real quick. Secondary. The SRO that brought the students into the office and was the one that arrested them. Parents, they were contacted by Mr. Inman, Principal Inman. He contacted James's mother, who seemed unaffected by the news, while David's mom was very upset. And the last person the case study talks about is the director of secondary education. He contacted Principal Inman to explain his ultimatum about making the decision between expelling or not expelling David. Section 4, facts, the place. Incident occurred at Rocket Junior High School. Part of it takes place in the office where the students are arrested, and then afterwards they are sent to a youth detention facility. And then the program, Rocket Junior High School, isn't really described as private or public, but has honors programs, as you can tell from the case study. Disciplinary alternative education program is what the students will be placed in, is described as a hellhole by Principal Inman, and one that obviously he doesn't want to send a bright student into. Section 5, review and prioritize. So, could the conflict situation or the decision be damaging to stakeholders or to the community? For James, it sounds like a pretty familiar place, and he unfortunately probably stay on the same path. Depending on Principal Inman's decisions, either he or David might possibly have a reputation that is tainted now. Community members may look down on Mr. Inman or David based on the principal's decisions. And then consultation: have all relevant stakeholders been consulted? Students, parents, administration, the police department, and the Department of Secondary Education are all aware of this situation. Things that I'm not too for sure of. I'm not sure if the school board is aware. I'm just assuming they are, because if the director of secondary education is aware, I'm just going to assume that the school board is. And then the other thing I'm not aware of, is there a policy for an appeal process? Section 6, identify the options. So, I mean, really, he has an ultimatum of about 2 options. Option 1, you sign the expulsion papers and David is expelled. Pretty simple. Option 2, do not sign the expulsion papers and then you're going to be reprimanded. So those are 2 pretty different options. They both have their pros and cons. So evaluating the options. Option 1, signing the expulsion papers. Pros, you would get to keep your job. No liability from any other parents. Cons, David is expelled. His reputation is tainted. Other students, teachers, or community members may look down on you for making that type of a decision. And then option 2, do not sign the expulsion papers, but you will be reprimanded. Pros, David is not expelled and his reputation stays intact. David continues to probably excel. Other students respect you. Other teachers respect you for your judgment and trust your judgment. And then the cons is you are reprimanded with the possibility of losing your job and having this on your permanent profile. And then there's also a chance you may face legality even if you don't get fired from the other parents, because you had both taken part in this act and only one of you got in trouble. Section 8, choosing the best option. I took the second one. Do not sign the expulsion papers, even though you're reprimanded. Pros, and I added a couple more in here for this one, just thinking about it. David is not expelled. Reputation stays intact. He continues to excel. Other students respect you and trust your judgment. And then just looking at it, the reason why I really chose it is because he would take students' success as priority number 1 over himself. And then obviously the cons are outnumbered then if I add those. You are reprimanded with the possibility of losing your job, and then you may face legality from other parents. And then how I would probably implement this decision, because it's going to be a tough one. First one, gather more information from David and James about the exchange of the brass knuckles. Number 2, collect a statement from the SRO involved about the statements from James, where he said, hey, I told you I would kick his ass if he didn't hold the knucks for me. Those are mine. I was going to use them after school to take care of some personal business. Both him and the SRO were in the room when he said that, so we can use that information for later. Number 3, if this information forms a logical story, use this to help support your decision. And then number 4, call, email district board members, and the SRO that you would like to meet about the situation and policy involved in the situation. And then step 5, at the meeting, present your information gathered from the students and SRO that are influencing your decision. And then once the board has heard your presentation, explain that this is the decision that you believe is best for the students, so all of our students, and our school. And then I think hearing that, the board would probably be agreeing with your decision, and I think it would be one that obviously best helps our students. And I think that's what kind of the whole idea of this is about. So that's the one that I would choose, and that's how I would go about doing that. And then my references are here. And that is it. Thank you everyone for watching.